This video is brought to you by OddsJam. If you've never heard of arbitrage betting, it's a way to bet where you will always come out on top no matter what, because you bet both sides of the coin. Because each sportsbook has different odds, you can do this and make money stress-free and effortlessly. It's not betting so much as it is math. It's so easy and stress-free that I've been tracking my progress, and I'm already up over $400 after just 1 week using their calculator. As an example, in preparation for the games this week, I went to their arbitrage calculator and found that over at BetMGM, they had plus 225 odds on Rashid Shaheed to score a touchdown for the Saints against the Eagles. While over at DraftKings, they had minus 200 odds on Shaheed to not score a touchdown. Well, he either will score a touchdown or he won't. So I followed their arbitrage calculator exactly as they told me to. And no matter what happens, whether Shaheed finds the end zone or not, I'm going to walk away with a nice profit. And if that might not seem like the greatest return, there have been moments that I pounced on arbitrage odds like these, where you can turn a 20% to 30% profit completely stress-free. OddsJam's tool makes everything one click away, and there are hundreds of bets like that every single day based on the sports books available in your area. If you do exactly as they say, you will literally always come out ahead. And if you sign up now using my promo code JG9, not only do you get a 7-day free trial, and not only does it help the channel out a lot, but you get 25% off your first month. Link in the description. So sign up for OddsJam today, where the odds will be in your favor. Doug Flutie had one of the most interesting careers of any player in the history of professional football. The extremely talented quarterback, who was best known for winning the Heisman with Boston College, had a career that took him all over the place, but by the end of it all, made him a legend. After struggling to find his footing in the NFL with the Chicago Bears and the New England Patriots, he went up north to the Canadian Football League and became maybe the greatest player in CFL history, making 6 All-Star appearances and winning 3 Grey Cups, including 3 Grey Cup MVPs. Then, he got a second wind in the NFL, rejoining the league nearly a decade after he last left, and playing for roughly another decade, making a Pro Bowl with the Buffalo Bills in 1998 at the age of 36 and winning AP Comeback Player of the Year, and even converting a drop kick in 2005 with the New England Patriots at 43 years old, which remains, to this day, the final drop kick ever converted in NFL history. With the new rules on where extra points are taken from, this will probably be the last time that the drop kick is ever attempted. When you're able to play professional football until the age of 43 and go out on your own terms, and when you're able to get nominated for the Pro Football Hall of Fame on the first wave of inductees, you did something right. And speaking of doing something right, you can do something right now by hitting that like button down below, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on this channel. We post every single day about the weird and the wacky history of the NFL, so if you like that sort of stuff, then this is the place for you. Thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. And if you play professional football for 2 decades and have that kind of career, there are a lot of traits that you need to possess. Aside from the obvious of being good at football, you've got to be a great teammate. You've got to be a leader and a guy that your teammates can fully rally behind. And perhaps no moment exhibited that more than the controversy between Flutie and NBC in 1988 when Flutie was a member of the Patriots, if you want to call it a controversy. Because in 1988, during a game between the New England Patriots and the New York Jets, and during a game between 2 bitter AFC East rivals, the story afterwards for some wasn't what happened on the field, but rather what happened off the field, and what Flutie decided to do that not many people would have done in that spot, and goes to show you the kind of person and the kind of player that he was. Because nearly 35 years later, this is the story behind the moment between Doug Flutie and NBC that personified Flutie's legendary pro football career. Before I talk about the actual incident in question, we need some context to understand not just how the game itself was going, but the importance of the game in question. It's November 13th, 1988. It's week 11 of the NFL season, and as we're firmly into the second half of the year, we've got a big AFC East battle on our hands over at Giants Stadium between the New England Patriots and the New York Jets. The importance of this game cannot be overstated whatsoever, as 10 weeks into the season, it's an absolute dogfight in the AFC for the wild card, with a whopping 11 teams having 5 or more wins fighting for 5 spots. including the Jets at 5-4-1 and the Patriots at 5-5. The winner of this not only gets a critical win in the wildcard standings with 5 to go afterwards, but gets a critical tiebreaker and a conference win, which could come in handy down the stretch if a few teams are tied for that final wildcard spot. The loser doesn't give themselves a whole lot of room for error toward the end of the season, and might have to run the table in order to be playing postseason football. So a win here is incredibly important. And the good news for the Patriots is that they did, in fact, come out on top. When all was said and done, and when the final whistle sounded, it was the Patriots who won a low-scoring affair, taking it by a final score of 14-13. Even though New York had 4 straight drives that started in New England territory, they could only walk away with 3 points during that sequence, which shows you how well New England's defense played. The Pats forced 3 turnovers and forced quarterback Ken O'Brien, in the middle of one of his most efficient seasons ever as a pro, to go 11 for 30, completing just 36% of his passes with no touchdowns, 1 interception, 3 sacks, 134 yards, or 109 net passing yards if you count the sacks, and a passer rating of 37.4, which is worse than if he did nothing but spike the ball into the ground on every single play. New England's defense was sharp all season long. They finished that 1988 season 5th in the league in points allowed, and after shutting down the Jets on opening day in their 28-3 win, they did it yet again and prevented New York's offense from doing anything, picking up a much-needed win to give them a 6-5 record and their 3rd straight victory after a slow start to the season, relatively speaking. However, if there was bad news from this game, it was that they did this in spite of the play of their quarterback, Doug Flutie. As you can tell from those highlights, not a single one of them involved the Patriots throwing the ball or completing a pass. And there was a reason for that. And the reason was, quite simply, that Doug Flutie did not play well. He started the game off 0 for 6, and it took until the second quarter for him to even so much as complete a pass. By the time the game finished, Flutie was 6 for 20, throwing for 78 yards and 2 interceptions, and posting a passer rating of 20.4, which, once again, is worse than if he did nothing but spike the ball into the ground on every single play. For some perspective on how bad Flutie played during this game, because it was ugly, as you can tell from the lowlights of Flutie you're watching, I compiled a list of every quarterback in the NFL to start a game and win during the 1988 regular season and throw a minimum of 20 passes. In other words, you had to get the start and throw the ball by averaging 5 attempts per quarter, which seemed pretty reasonable. In total, it happened 180 times where a starting quarterback threw for 20 passes in a winning effort. So just about every game played that season, it happened. I sorted it by their passer rating, and at the very top of the list, you've got Boomer Esiason, the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback who won MVP that season and had a Week 5 outing against the Los Angeles Raiders, where, in a 45-21 win, he posted a 149.7 rating, throwing 3 touchdowns and no interceptions while completing 75% of his passes and throwing for 332 yards. At the very bottom of the list, you've got Randy Wright, the Green Bay Packers quarterback who, 1 month after Flutie's game, on December 11th, would help the Packers beat the Vikings 18-6 in a game where he went 11 for 20 with no touchdowns and 2 interceptions and would post a passer rating of 34.2. Keep in mind that I was able to compile this data and organize this through the use of StatHead, which is this amazing tool that I've been using for years now and is an absolute goldmine for finding stats like this one. It's only $9 a month for football and $16 a month for all sports. But if you use my code JG9 at checkout on an annual subscription, not only does it help the channel out a lot, but you get 20% off. So if you're considering it, now is the time, because I can't rave about this product enough. Anyways, that's the list without Doug Flutie. And now, we throw Doug Flutie's performance on there. See that red bar all the way at the bottom that seems like it's on an island all by itself? See that red bar that feels like Pluto compared to the other planets in our solar system, to the point where it's not even a planet? Yeah, that's Doug Flutie's passer rating in the win. What Flutie did on this day was unheard of for a quarterback to get the win while playing that poorly. To complete 30% of your passes and throw multiple picks and win the game? I know football's a team game, but there are some moments where a team wins because of a player, and there are some moments where a team wins in spite of a player. And this was definitely a case of the latter. The Patriots, simply put, won this game in spite of Doug Flutie. But after the game, NBC wanted to talk to the man of the hour. They wanted an interview for their NFL Live postgame show, and they needed someone from the victors. Now, this was pretty commonplace for NBC to do something like this, and to conduct an on-field interview with someone on the winning team. And NBC had just the person in mind. They had the man in mind that helped the Pats win the game, get above 500, stay alive in the playoff race, and display dominance over everyone on the opposing team. That's right, Doug Flutie himself. Didn't see that one coming, did you? Because in a move that made complete sense, NBC decided that the real man of the match, and the one that they really wanted to interview, was Doug 6-for-20 Flutie. Not John Stevens, who averaged over 4 yards a carry and scored the decisive touchdown in the fourth quarter. Not Andre Tippett, one of the best linebackers in football, who was on pace for another All-Pro season and had a sack in the game. Not Larry McGrew, who had an all-important interception on Ken O'Brien to set the Patriots up with incredible field position. Nope, Doug Flutie, as in the worst player on the team on this day. And when Flutie was told that NBC wanted to interview him, Flutie said, "Nope, you're not going to do that. You're going to have to talk to someone else, because I played like crap." And he wasn't saying this to be dismissive of NBC, or because he was furious about his performance, despite winning the game. This was the furthest thing from a selfish move. This had nothing to do with a man thinking he was too good for an interview after playing poorly. In fact, it was just the opposite. As Flutie said afterwards on NBC's desire to interview him for the postgame show, "They ask me every week. They want to put a familiar face on TV, so it will help their ratings. The truth is, Doug Flutie didn't have a great game. I told them that they should talk to the guys up front, the guys who made the big plays." So you had NBC wanting to interview the star quarterback, and Flutie telling NBC, "Not today. Interview someone else who deserves it, because I didn't play well. Interview one of the defenders that held the Jets to 13 points. Interview one of the offensive linemen that kept me upright the entire game. But you're not going to interview me." That was Doug Flutie for you. That was who he was. Sure, he absolutely could have done the interview, and no one would have batted an eye. Heck, I don't even know how many people would have been watching, as the only people that would have gotten this interview would have been those that had the extended NFL Live postgame show, seeing as NBC had a doubleheader that week and was airing 3 separate games at the 4 o'clock window. So the only people that would get the interview would be people in markets where there was no game at 4 o'clock on NBC, because the rules back in 1988 prohibited markets that hosted a 1 o'clock game from getting a 4 o'clock game televised on the same network. New York would have been one of the markets to get the interview, but not a lot of places would have. It would have been generic player speak that we've heard a million times before, and would have been forgotten throughout history, and would have been a complete non-story. But Doug Flutie owed it to his teammates to give them the limelight, especially when they deserved it and carried him on a day where he played like crap. That right there was who Doug Flutie was. Now, unfortunately for Doug Flutie, after the game between these two teams behind me right here, the rest of the season would not go according to plan. The Patriots missed the playoffs with a 9-7 record. And yes, they did win 6 of their final 8 games, and they had a very strong second half of the season, but that was in spite of Doug Flutie's performance. Over his next 4 games after this one, because he played 4 more games the rest of the season, he didn't throw a single touchdown pass, despite starting 3 of them. And in 2 of those starts, he threw for under 100 passing yards. The Patriots might have been decent in 1988, but that was in spite of Doug Flutie, and not because of him. Safe to say, he didn't get a whole lot more opportunities for interviews after the game in 1988. Now, 1998, different story, but 1988, not his best year. What does it mean to be a good teammate? It means being there and giving it your all. It means sacrificing yourself for the betterment of the common goal. It means helping others, supporting others, and running the plays to the best of your abilities. It means a whole bunch of things. But it also means what Doug Flutie did here. Flutie did not have to do this, and he definitely did not need to stick it to the media and tell NBC in polite terms to shove it. But he did it in order for someone else to get the spotlight, and to show that he was not responsible for the win. It's a bizarre controversy, but it's one that deserves that deep dive all these years later, even though it's been lost throughout history. Primarily because it shows the obsession that the media has with quarterbacks, even when they play poorly, that they're willing to ignore the better players and the bigger stories. And it shows the kind of teammate and the kind of person that Doug Flutie was. Because not only did Doug Flutie win against the Jets on this day, but he also won against the almighty Peacock. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot, and check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.